Wayne, I just wanted to get something on the record just about litter again. We talked about it just offline. I mean, I realize neither the county or FDOT have, crews of people in orange vests, walking down the road 24/7. But coming up with some sort of in-between initiative where those areas are at least driven. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times, and Trinity's in the back, and she knows this, where, I call into our county guys and go, there's a lazy boy easy chair sitting at the base of the Jolly Bridge, and, not one person's been smart enough to, pick it up. So, the small little white pieces of paper in the tin cans, I realize that can't be picked up 24/7, but, we get reports from citizens that say, there's 3 giant buckets that flew off of a construction, truck, and they've been there for 3 weeks. I guess there's a ladder somewhere that we all got, notes on. And I mean, I've actually stopped in my Acura and put stuff in the trunk of my car if it would fit, but I can't put a couch in there. I don't know how some of these larger things are flying off of vehicles, but we have to have more regular monitoring. And I know we're tag teaming on it between the county and FDOT. Is there anything you can tell us on the contractor, how you doing it? I mean, we've even gotten emails from some people, bring back the prisoners and get the chain gang out there. And, according to Sheriff Ramboss, I haven't done that in ages. And,
That's absolutely not correct.
Okay. Well, they don't do it regularly.
Without interrupting you, we
okay.
do it well in Immokalee.
Okay. Well, they do it well, but they don't do it regularly is what came to me. Maybe in Immokalee it's an anomaly, but in my district, it's not done regularly. They've done it as sort of a nice to do once in a while, but that's not a program. So if it's a program in Immokalee, then what I would say is copy everything that they're doing in Immokalee, bring it to all 5 districts, and mission accomplished. But that's actually not realistic. So Immokalee might have a special program. My district doesn't, and the districts that bookend, my district don't. And so, I just wanted to hear, I know it's a challenge, it is for all of us, but, I mean, if we're doing it awesome in Immokalee, I would say then move the Immokalee people, and I don't mean this literally, but I-75 is the front door to Collier County. US 41 is the front door. Collier Boulevard's the front door. I mean, it's great if we got some back roads that are getting, close attention, but there's major areas that are grossly worse than they were 12 months ago, 24 months ago. Anyway, I've said enough. What can you tell us? Because I mean, I know you're not sitting on your hands and your arms are just folded doing nothing. But what are we doing? What can we do? All the above.
Mr. Chair, if it's okay, and John, I don't mind taking a first stab at this one as we run through.
Please go ahead.
So we've had the opportunity to have some discussions, both through the FDOT reports and with one-on-one questions that have come up from multiple board members about trash and litter along the interstate system. We do have an issue that's in place. To answer your question about having inmate assistance, that is not an option that is available currently with FDOT. We did have a contract at one point. That contract is no longer in place, and I'm not sure that I see a path forward for that to come back as of right now. It was an assistance to us, obviously, in ensuring that we were able to have things picked up. We do have normal scheduled litter pickup that's in place. We have litter pickup that is scheduled to occur as standalone, and then we have litter pickup that occurs before we do the standard scheduled mowing process that's in place. Through the Collier County area, we have actually had additional services put out. So for all intents and purposes, we have someone out running through the interstate system in Collier at least on a weekly basis to pick up. The larger items that you're referring to, those are items that we do have to schedule someone to come out, because the litter pickup are the Polaris vehicles, the smaller four-wheel vehicles that you see driving through, where they're actually picking up the trash and the cans that come up, the smaller things that do come through. I can find out a little bit more information about the larger items that are found out there and gather some feedback on that and report that back to you. I can tell you that we were able to gather a little bit of information on litter pickup within Collier County within pretty much the months of January, February, and we're estimating right now, because we're still compiling the numbers for March. These are monthly counts. We're picking up around 25 tons of trash along the interstate. That is per month. 5 years ago, in comparison, we were picking up 10 tons within a quarterly basis.
Wow.
January, February, and March timeframe that was going through. So a lot more is hitting the road, the right-of-way now. Enforcement is an issue that we're working on. John, I don't know if you were going to jump in on this, but I'm going to steal your thunder. We did work with our Florida Highway Patrol, and we actually had a press conference with our asset manager folks, the administrator for that, to address trash pickup. And it is not just a education that needs to be done. We are letting folks know that things are flying out from the back of cars from a personal use, cups, bags from lunch, things of that nature. They get thrown in the back of the truck and they fly out either inadvertently or they get thrown out of a window, and I'm sure you've all seen that happen. Aside from that, we are also seeing construction material come off of vehicles. These are materials that should be very well secured, and they turn out that they're not. Those range anywhere from aluminum siding to the buckets that you're talking about that are just coming off and become hazards on the roadway if they land or stay in the roadway. So if not, then they become hazards that we have to pick up on the side of the roads. And any time that we are stopping vehicles on the side of the road for pickup, we do have concerns and issues about personnel safety for grabbing these items, hoisting them into a truck, and then back to merging into traffic again on the interstate system. So enforcement is a huge component to addressing litter and managing the litter that does make it to the side of the road. Education is something that we at FDOT are continuing to press forward with, and we are continuing to move forward as best we can to schedule people out there for picking up the materials. A lot of coordination has taken place and cooperative efforts have taken place with Collier County, where your staff have gone out in between the times that our staff have gone out to pick up.
Unless I misunderstood you, that you had a contractor who either the contract expired or they walked away. So if that's true, then we're losing that sort of additional, component of cleanup. Did I hear you correctly that there was sort of an additional crew that was a contractor? Is there any initiative to,
That's been taken care of. So
bring somebody back?
This was it a year ago?
Okay,
that
so
we had that issue.
Yeah.
We had the contractor gave a 3-day notice and left.
But they've been replaced?
They have been
a while ago, right? Because I remember you saying that. I just wanted to correct that and make sure that everybody understands that. But, okay. What was your question?
You'd made mention about Immokalee, and I just wanted to say, well, why do we not have an agreement with our local sheriff's department for prisoner arrangements?
There was an issue that was in place, and I can get more detailed information on this, but it became a personnel issue and a financial constraint issue on the law enforcement's part. Obviously, putting someone on the side of the road that needs to have a supervisor in place to watch the work crews that are out there. They needed to provide their own separate transportation. The funding that was in place was limited as to what could be done, and the amount of work that the inmates could provide with the funding that we could put out there was extremely limited. It wasn't meeting up, and they stopped.
A cost-benefit analysis was already done in relationship to that, as opposed to a private contractor or county staff or state staff? A cost-benefit analysis was done? It just seems counterintuitive to me.
I don't believe we had a cost-benefit analysis that took place. We had a contract with the Sheriff's Department that said we cannot provide the services that you're looking for because we don't have either the manpower to take away from a certain area or and provide the services that you're needing on the
What I had heard from our sheriff's office leadership when I had pulsed them about this and was trying to separate rumor from fact about the, quote unquote chain gang that was out there, is that they had done it at times and when they had an agreement, but it was kind of hit or miss. It wasn't a program. So it was a great sort of filler at times, but if they didn't have the manpower, they didn't have the vehicles, we're in the middle of hurricane or some sort of other emergency, that took a back seat. So then the problem was you don't have regularly scheduled. So the prisoner crew is sort of a nice to have, and it fills in between, but it doesn't substitute for a contractor that's out there and getting paid for a very specific amount of time, and that the sheriff's office looked at that program, whether it was an agreement or a contract or not, that would be one of the first things that would fall out for the week or the month if they didn't have the manning, if they didn't have the security. And then there's also some safety intangibles with it. It's great to have a bunch of prisoners on the side of the road picking up trash, and it does help clean up the area. But what I had heard from their leadership team was, if you don't have the right kind of oversight, you don't have the right kind of safety protocols, I always use this term, the juice might not be worth the squeeze. And really, I'm looking for a more permanent type of thing. So it's like the once in a blue moon, hey, we have a few prisoners and a few extra sheriffs. Let's go out and pick up trash. I mean, I'd rather have my sheriffs doing something else and have a permanent contract in place that's going to put actual, litter pick up people on the road on a very definitive schedule, to ensure that we've got a comprehensive program. And so it sounds like we have that, but it sounds like the quantity, obviously, you gave the numbers, is outweighing what we have. Because I even saw some really robust crews in my district, took some photos of it, actually, traded some notes with Trinity Scott and said, wow, they're everywhere in my community. 5 days later, road looked, and so it's not their fault. They were out there picking things up, but it's like the litter's coming quicker than the teams can sort of keep up with it. So I know that's a challenge, but some sort of drive around, like you brought up a good point, the people that are sort of driving around and assessing, they're not in pickup trucks, and they're probably solo drivers. So if there's a couch or a chair, or I'm flabbergasted at some of the large things out there, then they have to call it in, but it still sits there usually for a bit. And to the average motorist or citizen that drives by, it looks like we don't care, attention to, how many county or FDOT staff does it take to install this light bulb or pick up this chair? It just seems like when it sits out there for days or whatever, it's excessive. And it's also a hazard. Some of these things are like right on the edge of the road. It fell off of a truck. It's over on the shoulder. Somebody stopped and pushed it. But, in the middle of the night with minimal lighting, somebody plows into a lazy boy chair that's sitting on a shoulder, we're going to have a problem. And then it's going to come back to us as to, well, why was that thing sitting out there for 2 weeks? So anyway, I know we're just having discussion here, but anything you all can do to work with us, or if we need to just put more resources to it. We move money to some areas that are sort of some nice to-dos, and we fund them aggressively. To me, this is a must-do. This is our home. This is our community. We take great pride in this being the safest city in the country. Yet in some areas, it certainly doesn't look as squared away as it used to. And your numbers prove it on the amount of trash you are picking up. But there's still a lot left out there on the roads, and it's not just I-75 or US 41 or Collier. Even some of the side areas are starting to get a lot less attention. So, okay, I appreciate the feedback.
I'll carry the discussion on with our staff, see what kind of ideas that we can come up with, and then get back with you next meeting.
Yeah.
Make that a part of our FDOT report.
If it's a funding thing, and I'm just spitballing here, but we tend to sometimes talk to the TDC folks when we have things that we think impact tourism in our community, and I know that they can't be the catch-all for funding everything that we need extra dollars for, but people have never visited Naples before, and they read about how this is the safest place and it's paradise, and you're going to see dolphins every 20 feet in the water, and the beaches are like baby powder and everything. As they approach the exit to go to their beautiful hotel or whatnot, I think the takeaway now isn't as impressive in areas as it was even just 12 months ago, 24 months ago. And so it is important to our tourism dollars and the aesthetic of our community. So if we really need to sit down and figure out a funding issue, we've spent money on things that were a lot less of a priority in my opinion. So, but thanks, Wayne, I appreciate it.
Commissioner Kowal.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo Commissioner LaCostro. I'm not going to get into the weeds with it, but I have, it's strange, this past week, I've just started getting bombarded with some emails about the trash along the I-75 and some of the other roadways coming off I-75. I just put that on record. And then I'm curious, though, I'll reach out myself, but I know we used to have the weekend work program, and that was part of stipulation of people's probation.
That's
So.
That's That's what we do at the stockade.
Yeah, I thought that was,
Call them the weekend warriors in Immokalee.
yeah, they're not actually inmates, they're not members of the jail, but it's just part of their probation that they have to go out on weekends, and they do like a weekend work thing as part of their community service of their probation. So I don't know if that's something we can look into filling some gaps, but it might be an option. But besides that, I hope everybody has a great weekend.